Hi everyone, Chantal here. This is a special message for all of the FBP family who are attending URSA 2020. On Thursday, March the 19th, I would love you to join us for this year's FBP family meetup. We start at the convention centre at 6:30 a.m. We walk and we talk for 60 minutes. Now, to find out more information and to register, just go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. At the top of the page, click on the tab called Meetup, then register your details for the URSA walk. If you need any more information, then email me directly at chantal@fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Now, it's time for this week's show. Your Fitness Business Podcast Snapshot. 3 key metrics we should improve around group fitness in 2020. Action steps to achieve the result for each metric. And tips to remain focused on your New Year's group fitness resolution. All of that and more coming right up. You're listening to the industry's leading fitness business podcast for owners and managers. This month's interviews are brought to you by our foundation partner, Active Management. Are you a fitness business owner, manager, or entrepreneur who wants to think and do different to your competitors? Go to activemgmt.com.au to find out how. Hi everyone, and welcome to the 3rd episode in our New Year's resolution series. Today, our focus is group fitness, and I have not one, but 2 special guests. Our first guest you know well. She appeared on the show in February 2018, then she was our Talking Trends guest in 2019, and now she is back in 2020 to talk all things group fitness. She's a great friend of the show and a global fitness authority, Emma Barry. Our second guest for today is Tracy Minnoch Nuku. Tracy is a group class trainer, a personal trainer, training manager, mentor, and fitness consultant. As you can already hear, there is a wealth of experience between our guests today, and we have got a huge show up ahead. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive straight in. Before I welcome Emma to the show, let me first tell you a little bit more about her. Emma Barry consults to the fastest growing segments in the sector: boutique studios, budget clubs, digital workouts, and fit tech startups. A founding member of the group fitness programming juggernaut Les Mills International, former director of programming for Equinox, and currently consulting to Basic Fit, the fastest growing value-based chain in Europe. Emma is fluent in what happens next in boutique fitness. She draws on considerable industry experience and understanding of trends to coach owners in saving precious time and money as they open a new studio, scale their concept, or refresh their club-in-club model. What you may have heard in last week's PreCall Quick 5 is that Emma is about to launch her book, Building a Badass Boutique. And as I record this episode, I can tell you that we're only days away from the launch of that book. So if you jump over and check out the show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, you'll be able to find a link there where you can buy her new book. One last thing. Listen in for when Emma talks about Soul Beat. It's the new member connection initiative that's been implemented by SoulCycle. I think you'll find it really interesting. Enjoy part 1 of this week's show with my special guest, Emma Barry. First things first, we enter the new year, we start setting all these resolutions. You hear about our clients who are out there going, okay, well, I want to lose 5 pounds, or I want to run my first half marathon. By the way, we're just about to run a half marathon, right?
Ooh, we are. One of us might be running a 5K, actually.
I'll tell you, I might be doing the same. But you know what? We start the new year, we set all of these goals, but today we're talking about setting business goals. So do you want to kick things off and tell us 3 areas of group fitness, or 3 metrics in group fitness, that we should focus on improving over a 12-month period?
Great. So what I've done with the approach to this is that I've taken, I want to take the same measurements and put them under each of these metrics, and that is to first of all get a baseline, secondly to remeasure on a regular basis, and thirdly to look under each touch point and find out what's going on and commit to improving it. So that should sort of run under the 3 metrics that I've come up with today. Right. So my first metric, the king or the queen of metrics, and I love this question, it has a very NPS approach, but the question would be asking, members, a subset of your members, all your members, whatever's suitable for your facility, but how happy are you with the results you are getting from our program? Now, the reason that I love this question is if you think about it, it addresses everything that we need to know. If I came to lose weight, am I losing weight? If I came to be happy and healthy, am I happy and healthy? So I love it from that perspective. And I also love it that it's linking, is what we are giving you working? And it also insinuates, are you coming in order to get those results? So it's a wonderful question. How happy are you with the results you are getting from our program? So that would be my first metric that I would ask consistently across a 12-month period. Are you ready for the second?
Let's go for the second.
Great. So frequency, of course. So visit frequency, how often are you coming? How often are your unique visitors coming to your facility? We know from all the Les Mills research, the URSA research, the Club and Tell research, all the stuff around the planet, if you're not coming, you're not getting your result, you're not staying, you're not paying. So I would definitely look at visit frequency. We know that magic things happen when you come twice a week. That shows commitment, it shows results, it gives you the camaraderie and the community that you're looking for, all of those good things. So that would be number 2.
Excellent.
And my third one really is about experience, and it is based around a lot of the deep stuff that I did putting together Building a Badass Boutique, and that is I would rate your customer journey. We are in the experience economy. If you're in a club, you're competing against boutique, you're competing against Thor, you're competing against anything that I can find on my phone, on the net, in any facility up a strip mall, you're competing against it all. So I believe we must now look at all our touch points and really look at them closely as Disney does when they're measuring happiness, and really think, how can we make that more delightful? If it's process-driven, it should be invisible and quick and painless. If it's a camaraderie moment, it should be really hyped up. If it's a motivational moment, the same thing. So I would like to see us moving into really judging and assessing and improving the experience.
Excellent. So let's just recap each of those. So our first one is asking our members, how happy are you with the results that you're getting from our programs? The second one is all around frequency, and the third one is around experience. Now, you mentioned right up front that you're going to now kind of break those down into 3 key areas, and I had written down baseline, remeasure, and touch points. Have I got those 3 right?
Yes, that's correct. So if you look at the first question, you would throw it out there and you would get something like an NPS score. Okay, so if it's not a 9 or a 10, then you've got work to do, basically. So I would definitely start there. Then you've got to remeasure. So these are things that you can be doing ongoing. A lot of people do use NPS or some system like that, where you're randomly selecting members on an ongoing basis, and it can be around a question or a set of questions or a particular area. So I would just say have that going all the time, because if you're doing the other 2 metrics, then the whole environment that you're creating in your facility or in your community, whether that's online or offline, all the work you're doing should be reflected in that score.
Okay, so let's flip over to frequency, which is the second one that you talked to us about. Talk to us a little bit more about how we can really measure and action and create some actions around frequency with our members.
Right, so I guess the big challenge in a lot of big clubs, and I face this pretty much every day when I'm out there consulting, is a lot of the big clubs might know that you came to the gym that day because there's a check-in data point, but they might not know whether you went right or left and whether you did that core class or whether you just mucked around in the gym for a bit or whether you just came to the spa. So I think it really comes down to, the whole management piece. If you can't measure where people are going, you have to start there. Now, whether it's a manual process and you ask people, are you doing class, are you using the gym, whatever, and it starts manual and then you can gradually take it onto software, I think that's you've got to start there, because at the moment, as again, you're up against the boutiques who measure everything. When you last came, which bike you sat on, who your friends are, what pack you're on, all of those things. That's a rich data that helps inform when to talk to you about the next pack, when to do a push notification to you specifically, wondering why you haven't been back for a week and a half. Like, I think it's just starting with those metrics however you can, and getting them down, and then being able to re-measure those over time. Most people lie when they don't mean to when they join a gym. They'll always say, oh, I can see myself coming 3 to 4 times a week. They almost never do, because life gets in the way. So they've kind of got this motivation up here, and then by the time they come back down to reality, we kind of miss. So I would say you've got to start with measuring it, and then work out what is going to motivate that group. You and I are the motivated. We're easy to get along to things because we say yes and then wonder what we put our hand up for. Most people, you're getting them off the couch, you're getting them out of the pub, you're, it's this or having a wine with my husband or whatever. So I think we just have to understand all those pieces and really make it an environment to pull people in. So it starts with measuring it. If you don't know what they're doing, you have no baseline.
Emma, I actually want to just get you to explain something that I saw you present yesterday in your pre-Philex presentation, and that was the level of detail that SoulCycle are now sharing with their class attendees. It was the first time that I'd ever seen this level of data being shared. Can you just tell us a little bit about what SoulCycle are doing now?
Absolutely. So Soul, for the longest time, as you all know, has just sort of been a cycle class, and that's kind of been it. More recently, there's been a lot of activity around, it's got more competitive. I mean, these guys launched in 2006. The brand is not new anymore, and there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of great stuff. So they've never been about watts and power and all that kind of good stuff, but they've always been very cultish in their following. And so what they pushed out recently was an app called Soul Beat. And what it does is after class, first of all, you get pushed the playlist. So, not only did you rock it in class, you're now remembered and you get to relive it and what have you. So they send you the playlist. It's got your image on there. It's got, well done, Emma, you kicked it out of the park, whatever it is. Congratulations on your 58th ride. Now, in that first panel, they have personalised me, they have congratulated me, they have reminded me how often I've been coming, and they've kind of rewarded me for turning up. So that's the first thing that hits you. Then you move into the metrics panel, which is sort of in the middle, and they've got the playlist down the bottom, and up the top you've got this metric, and in this case maybe it says 85%. Now what they've done is, because they don't care about your power output or how good you are on a performance cycle, they're interested in your ability to ride to the rhythm. That is 85% on the beat, based on the songs that were played that day in the class you attended. So the bikes that they're sitting on actually measured how you were riding to the beat through some technology that they've developed. So I just think that is brilliant, because they've owned the piece, the soul, the rhythm that they've never deviated from. So they haven't sort of jumped into, we're doing wearables or measurables or hearables now. We're just sticking to what we know. Now, they also provide the power output, because they also know that people are getting more and more interested in how hard they're working. So like every brand, SoulCycle has its detractors as well. It's got people that, hey, you should be riding like a real bike outside. You've got all of that feedback. But they're like, okay, we'll keep those guys happy, but we're really going to stay true to the rhythm. So I couldn't believe it when that came out. I just thought, how amazing,
I thought the same thing when you put that up on screen yesterday, which is why I wanted to share it with the FBP family, because I just think like the tech behind that is mind-blowing, to think that they are matching up the beat of the music of the individual songs with your cadence on the bike is pretty phenomenal. And I bring it up in this section because we started off this kind of section talking about visit frequency and getting a much deeper insight into our member behaviour. And I just think that that's an incredible example of really taking it to that next level of not only understanding our member behaviour and what they're doing during their visits, but then sharing that data as a connection tool and as a way to, I guess, encourage our members to come back. again and again. So I think it's such a great example. Thank you for sharing that with us. And so let's move on to the third section, which is experience. So any action steps that we can do to really enhance our member experience in 2020?
Yes, and I come back to my starting with the baseline. So most established businesses that I work with haven't thought about touch points in quite some time. Actually, they're probably running around fighting fires rather than actually thinking, what is the end-to-end, undiluted, pure experience of coming to our club and doing a cycle class, or coming to the club and doing yoga. Those are two very different examples, but as I walk through the club, what is my experience of that class within the context of the club? And so what I tend to get people to do is slow down and actually just really mark out, say, a member journey, for example. How do they find you? How do they join? How do they come? How are they greeted? Where do they go? Where do they wait? What do they get out? What state is the room in when they get there? How are they welcomed? How's the class, how does the whole class flow? What happens at the end? What happens between the end when they leave the class and getting to the next place, be it locker room, leaving, whatever? And then what happens after class? Do they get any nice push notifications or anything like that, like Soul is sending out? So I get people to actually lay out and actually mindfully think of them, and already you see people starting to click over and going, oh my goodness, that welcome is awful, because you've actually got to walk through the men's gym, over the bridge, under the thing and around the thing to find the yoga studio. The class before it is body attack. Everyone's coming out, like they've jacked up and, high-fiving and sweating all over you. So these are all things that when you slow down and map the journey for every single class, you start to get some insights to how you could make that better. Now, we have to be realistic. If you're in a gym, it's going to be a compromised situation. You can't just expect it to be an unplug where you go in, hand your phone over, it gets charged, and then you wander into your sound bath. That's just not going to happen. But there's many things that you can think about. And what we're finding now is that we're actually re-engineering a lot of clubs. And anyone who's a club owner out there or runs Group X, you will know we are now trying to design clubs with all the quiet stuff at one end of the facility and all the loud stuff at the end. So you put the gym where the big boys drop the plates on top of the body attack room, that sort of stuff. At the other end, you're putting your spa services, your yoga facilities, your quiet time, your sleep rooms, your cryo, whatever you're into, your recovery strategies. So there's a lot more of that coming in as a really obvious example of how you can use the customer touch points.
Emma, any tips for us around how we can actually remain focused, not lose sight of the end goal for our year? How can we remain focused on our New Year's group fitness resolutions that we set?
Right, well, that sort of comes into the leadership of people aspect. So any idea needs to have buy-in and understanding and relevance. It has to mean something to the business, and there has to be a little bit of carrot and stick around it too. So what you'll find is that people will socialise an idea like this, and they'll say, look, we're only focusing on 3 things in Group X this year, okay? And there's plenty of other metrics. One might be if you're in a huge club that has, the natural attrition rates, you might have to count number of people, for example. It might not be so important in a boutique who might just measure active users. So they're not going after thousands of people, they're going after hundreds of people. So I would just say that you have to get buy-in, and it's not just by you, it might be other departments that you intersect with, because you'll be surprised how quickly ideas can get brought down if they don't have buy-in across the whole leadership team. So I think that's part of it. Then it needs to be on the agenda regularly. So it has to be the topic. It can't just be the last thing we get to and we never get to it because we always run over time. It's kind of got to be, okay, guys, opening stats. Can we have a look at, the question? Can we have a look at our club question this week and see how we're performing in that? We would like to, and let's have a look at our frequency stats, and let's also have a look at our customer journey. Today, we're going to be identifying the one touch point that we think we can make the most difference in, okay? So that could be a way to keep it on the agenda. So it's got to be socialised, got to be on the agenda, it's got to be revisited, and then it's got to have cheerleaders, it's got to have people that really believe in it as well. Yeah, so those would be my tips.
They are phenomenal tips. And I love that idea of having like a cheerleader, someone who's an absolute advocate for that project, because you know that that person is really going to drive it and keep it on the agenda as it needs to be. So Emma, always love catching up with you. And before I let you go today, just tell us a little bit about what 2020 looks like for you, because I know you've got a huge year coming up this year. What are you up to?
Oh, I will see you at some of the shows. I'm cutting back in a few of the shows and just doing the big ones. We're launching in Sweat 2020 in London. I'll definitely be doing Ursa, so I believe I'll see you there, yes.
Definitely, 100%.
Yes. April is huge because I'm doing FIBO Cologne, so co-hosting that with Herman from Europe Active. So that will be huge. We'll get about 650 business owners in the room. So that's one of the biggest business days in Europe as part of FIBO in Cologne. Then in the middle of the month, heading to Fit Summit with Ross and the team in Singapore. And again, we'll be doing Building a Badass Boutique Masterclass, which is a whole one day. You get a book and a workshop, and we actually walk through all the 10 touch points and you walk away with a plan. So I've got that. And then, of course, I'm coming down to Filex at the end of the month. And in between that, doing Boutique Fitness Summit in New York City as well. And then CanFit Pro, I'll be heading over there and just really being mindful of the events that I go to this year, because I have a lot of things to build around the book. We're doing an online platform as well, and got a couple of other things which I can't tell you about now, but hopefully will come to fruition within the next few months. So very, very exciting year. Focused year. I've got to focus because I like to do everything, but this year I'm focusing.
I love it. And that sounds incredibly exciting. You're going to have to look after that voice in April, because that is a lot of events in 1 month. Absolutely phenomenal. So what we're going to do is we'll actually pop all of those in the show notes. So wherever you are in the world, it sounds like you'll have the opportunity to go and listen to Emma speak live. So thank you so much for your time. I am so excited for the launch of your book, Building a Badass Boutique, that is coming out very soon. So we'll make sure that we put a link in the show notes. Emma Barry, thank you once again so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me, babe. Have a good one. See you soon.
A big thank you to Emma, and now we move into part 2 of this week's episode with our special guest, Tracy Minnoch Nuku. Tracy has grown up in the fitness industry, from starting as an 18-year-old aerobics teacher through to managing personal training and group training teams in New Zealand. As one of the original master trainers for Les Mills New Zealand, Tracy was headhunted to support the growth of Fitness First Asia and moved to Hong Kong and then Malaysia. Over 5 years, she trained thousands of instructors and built a support management team for the rapid rollout of group classes. Tracy set up support businesses for Les Mills in Southeast Asia, and after 7 years and a new trainer team of 80 international trainers across 8 countries, including China, Tracy joined her husband in setting up their own brand of fitness boutique clubs, Fire Fitness. I'm thrilled to introduce you to our second guest this week, Tracy Minnoch Nuku. I started by asking Tracy to share with us 3 key metrics that we should improve around group fitness in 2020. Here's what Tracy had to say.
I have been able to dive down and to figure out exactly what people should be looking at for group fitness, and so that they can get through the year and celebrate their wins.
I like the sound of that.
yeah, I think it's always about, putting it out there and having an opportunity to celebrate the wins. And so even with group fitness, there'll be some metrics, right? And sometimes the metrics, when it comes to group fitness, which is about an experience and the emotion, but still you've got to have the metrics, that side of it sometimes seems boring. So I think it's there's a couple of key things. So the first thing is overall attendance at the facility. Now, my focus is boutique fitness, so that means we are a class-based business, and so we don't have the gym facility, so we're not competing with people coming through the door and choosing to do a workout on the floor by themselves. Every single person is coming through to do a class, but none of the content that I'm going to give you is just for boutiques. So it can be for a club that has or offers classes, or multiple studios with classes as well. So we're looking at overall attendance. And that's the number one factor for knowing whether your group fitness program is working, and whether you're engaging members, and whether you're bringing in some new ones. So you need to set an attendance goal for the club as a whole. And you don't just put the onus on the group fitness teachers to build their classes. This is a major KPI for the whole team, from sales to service to the club manager to program head leaders of different. So if you've got different classes, like a strength training class, perhaps you've got a team leader for that program, and it's their responsibility to also take this KPI to build or contribute their part to the growth in attendance. So that's the key thing. So for example, if you're at 1,000 attendances a month in January, where do you hope to be by December? And I think a realistic goal would be to add 20% on to that and chop it up through quarters for the year. So try to increase by 5% every quarter. And I think that's absolutely doable. But of course, I'm going to give you some more tips on, how to do it. The second one is increasing the number of classes that you offer on your schedule. So once you can see that your class attendance is growing, and that you're starting to see classes becoming full and waitlisted, or you're even getting some complaints that classes are too full, things like that, then it's time to beef up your schedule where possible. So a few other factors are important with this one as well. So can you add more classes? Can you actually do that? Do you have the studio space to accommodate more people? Do you have enough trainers to teach more classes? And if you set goals to increase the number of classes on the schedule by, say, 10 or 15% after 6 months and 20% by 12 months, that's quite a head count you'll need to be mindful for. So, making sure that if you are setting goals to increase the number of classes, that you also are going to be doing some recruitment and training to support those numbers. Number 3 is what we call class capacity. And a lot of businesses use this. So it's similar to how much are you filling bums on seats, for example, in an airplane or a movie theatre. The studio isn't profitable when you're paying the teacher more than you have people in the room. So a good benchmark for class capacity for boutique fitness is 80% full across the whole schedule. And that's a really, really good benchmark. So I'm sort of giving you an idea around some of the world's most successful boutique fitness studios. They would be, on average, filling the classes 80% of the time. So, and sharing the goals for each of the classes with your group fitness trainers and rewarding on performance, that's also a really good way to attract top talent that will support you increasing your class numbers on the schedule. Okay, so metric 1 is the attendance, increasing the overall attendance in the club. So I've got three actions that you need to take into consideration, and the first one is review your previous attendance history. And this is obviously something to do if you've been operating for, say, a year, and you'll have a year of figures that show the holidays, the downtimes, the peak times. But if you don't have that, like you're a brand new club, then you've got a clean slate. And so if you are just moving up every month, you're gaining traction on your attendance, then that's the best that you can hope for. But if we go back to clubs that have already been performing for a year plus, then identifying attendance history is the first thing you need to do. And so tracking every class, every day, every week, every month is vital. And then number 2 is to share the attendance goal with the whole team. So everyone's on board. Like, this has to happen. You can't just have your own spreadsheet or checklist and keep it to yourself and track the numbers and just hope that everything's going to change. You need to mobilize the whole team. So setting individual class targets for each trainer so that they can take personal ownership to build their class numbers. Because if they don't know your expectations, then they'll just happily continue to teach to 1 or 2 people and get paid for a class that's not making any profit. Of course, that we don't want to sort of say to them, hey, look, you're only getting 1 or 2 people in your class and therefore, it's not a profitable class. That's not a good way to manage it. It's like, here's where your class is today. Here's where we would love for your class to be in 3 months' time. And what do we need to do to help you get there? So that's the conversation. And every instructor wants to have full classes, right? So taking the attendance goal and sharing it with every single trainer in every single class. And that takes up a bit of time, but if you block out, say, a couple of weeks to have individual meetings with each of your trainers, and then everyone rocks into 2020 really motivated.
Absolutely. And can I just jump in there quickly, Tracy, and just say, as a group fitness instructor, I totally agree. Every one of us wants to have a full class because that's where the energy is and it's the best feeling in the world. Now, just in regards to that particular point, have you seen or experienced any really great ways that your instructor team have gone about individually to increase participants or attendance to their classes?
Well, it's actually getting on to my next point.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, and it's another part of the business, but I think in this day and age, it's a shared role between the trainers and the club when you talk about having robust marketing and social media.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a shared role because if you've got rock star trainers that have quite a big following on their social media platforms, then, they're able to shout out, hey, I'm teaching these classes on these days at these times, and they've got their own audience. And then, of course, we will repost their messages to support them, or we will do individual social media messages to say, we've got this rock star trainer and here's the days and the times that they're teaching. So this is quite different to traditional marketing from fitness clubs, where the marketing would primarily focus on the offer or the sales promotion. There's been a real flip in the last few years on focusing on the trainer and the programs that we offer, like the experience. Mm-hmm. And so it's a dual role between the club and the trainers to promote the classes, the programs, and themselves. So we found that that's been really useful when trainers have been able to promote their own programs and their own classes as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we've covered off attendance now, and thank you for those great actions around how we can start to identify some goals and increase attendance for our clubs. Now let's move on to metric number 2, which was increasing the overall volume of our timetable or our schedule. Talk us through that one.
So key number 1, you need to identify when your busy times or your peak times are and ensure that you've got enough classes to meet the needs of the people coming into the club. It's easy to see when you're not offering enough classes because people are coming in, they're lining up outside, or it's fully waitlisted and booked if you're using an app to book in for. But and then you need to be able to say, okay, so I can only service X amount of people. Where can I offer another opportunity to service everyone that wants to join a class? And I think we can all agree that we do have limitations when it comes to peak times. Like peak times are peak times. That's when everybody wants to train. There's nothing we can do about that. But we can entice people to come to a slightly off-peak class time with their same favourite trainer, if that's the key. And so that's the first thing I would do, is identify when your busy peak times are. The second thing is, once your key time slots are performing really well, look to add the classes either side of those times. For example, maybe you've had some really busy morning classes, but you haven't yet started the lunchtime classes. This is the case with one of our clubs, which is a really successful club. The mid-morning classes are packed and it's insane, but when we tried to put on lunchtime classes, it just didn't work out. So we just gave it a little bit of time and then we revisited it. And one of the things that we did to make the new class times, which is lunchtime classes, successful is we put on, a top performing trainer and we marketed the heck out of it. And so that meant that people that would maybe traditionally go to the mid-morning made an effort to come to a lunchtime because they could still come and do that time slot. It wasn't a big deal. Plus it attracted a different market as well. So first thing was, identify peak time. Second thing is start to add classes either side of performing time slots. And the third key thing is benchmark your quarterly growth and aim to increase the number of classes on the schedule by at least 10% or 5 to 10% per quarter. If you're offering 120 classes per month, then adding just 12 classes a month, which is only 4 extra classes a week, that's no big deal. Mm-hmm. So that's how you can start to grow the number of classes on the schedule.
Yeah, great advice. And I really like what you said about grabbing that rock star instructor and moving them into the time slot where maybe it's not traditionally performed so well. That's a really great tip because you know that so often our members follow our best instructors, doesn't matter what time of day that they are teaching. So great advice around that one, Tracy. So if we move on to our third metric, which was class capacity, talk us through some action steps about how we can actually increase the capacity of our classes.
I think that comes down to awareness. It's like any great company that promotes or markets themselves. So if you've got an airline, for example, they're trying to entice people to choose them, and that would be the same thing that we do. So I'm going to link the class capacity metric with social media, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. Because if your main KPI is building attendance, then you need to let as many people know as possible that you've got amazing classes and incredible trainers. And so we never underestimate the power of connection and community and sharing social media posts, and also sharing posts of happy fans working out and their testimonies, linking a call to action with an easy to access link to sign up for some free trials. That's a must. And this is also really good to use when you're promoting new classes that you've added to the schedule and a new trainer, which is a point I've already touched on. So we ultimately want to get more bums on seats or more people in classes. And I really think that enticing people or telling people about what you do and that all these other amazing people obviously love it too is the key to maxing out your classes.
Tracy, can I jump in and just ask you, in regards to that social media coverage, would you normally use still photography of like members having a great time, or have you also included video, or have you ever trialed doing live video for your social media posts?
Yeah, so we use a bit of both. We have shot some professional marketing images, but like any boutique fitness facility, when you get started, that's quite an expense. And so we found that the professional shoot doesn't necessarily get as much views as the organic photos that we shoot just with our phone, and post and tag people. So we found that it's great to have some professional shoots that really speak of your brand. That's awesome. And we use that for marketing different things, promotions coming up. But we find that we get the biggest viewership and engagement when it's an organic photo, and especially testimonies. Building the community and keeping people really engaged is about people saying, this happened to me and this could be you. There's so much power in that. So sharing the posts that you've made. So if you're going to post something with a clear message about a promotion or an event that's coming up, share it with your trainers so that they can also let their audience know, because we might have our own social media platforms and we can attract only so many eyes. But if you leverage off your whole team, your eyes have increased exponentially, maybe 20 times. So sharing the same marketing posts or social media posts with your trainers and having them also share it, that's a win. Oftentimes our trainers have a way bigger market than we do. So we're trying to obviously build our own markets and build our own set of eyes on our products. But we think that our trainers pushing the messaging is really powerful. So every time we have an event or something that's coming up, we just post it out to the trainers and say, feel free to share this with your fans.
Yes, great idea. Yeah. Great idea. And what's our third one?
Yeah, so that's just building out the idea of marketing and events and opportunities to bring people together, building on the community. So my idea would be to schedule 6 monthly open days where all the classes are free. You know, people can come in and join the experience. And the people that are joining regularly would be able to bring a friend or bring as many friends as they want. So you need to also set targets for how many new people that you want to access on these days, so that you're not just offering free classes to people that, you know, they're going to show up no matter what. You're trying to get fresh eyes on what you offer. And then having a great offer, you know, a great opportunity for them to join, make it easy for them to set up an account with you, offer some extra free classes if that's going to make a difference. And then scheduling in regular monthly in-house events. And that keeps the motivation and connection of your current client base. And these can be trainer-led, or they could be program-led, or you could just be celebrating a holiday, Thanksgiving, Halloween, you know, the usual things. And when you've got these communities of people, and they're always going to be engaged, and I think that's important because that affects your class capacity results month on month, is that they continue to show up.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talked about this particular topic earlier on, you mentioned the idea of incentivizing our instructors, like financially incentivizing them. Can you give us a bit of an insight into what you mean on how that would work?
Yeah, sure. It's quite commonly known that with boutique fitness that trainers are paid on commission, which means that they have a base rate, which is a minimum rate that they would get paid for a minimum number of people in the room. And then there would be a staggered rate that increases based on how many people they're filling in the room. So, for example, if they fill the room, then they would hit their maximum amount that they could get paid. And in boutique, it's generally higher than, say, non-boutique fitness clubs that offer a lot of other workouts, gym workouts or treadmill running, for example. So that's quite well known. Financial incentives, I think, is good, but, you know, having been in the industry for a really long time, I'm still not 100% convinced that it is the number one reason that people want to build their classes. I think recognition is still really important, and recognition from team leaders, from management. They're getting recognition from their fans because their fans are showing up and loving it week on week, and their classes are full and they've got wait lists. So that's recognition weekly. But, you know, recognition monthly or every 6 months when you touch base and you chat about their goals, I think that's probably number one. And recognition is not just verbal. It could be a card that you've written. It could be a gift that you give. It could be a massage. You can do whatever you like around this, but I still think recognition for the trainer, someone patting them on the back and saying, I see what you're doing. You are contributing to our club. It's incredible. And how much more can I help you? Maybe 1 out of 5 will say, I want to get paid more. You know, like it's actually, I've been waiting for that conversation for a long time for our trainers to go, yeah, actually you could pay me more. We pay them well, but I think recognition is key.
Okay, so let's wrap all of this up with our Fitbispiration. So do you want to leave us today with 3 key tips to remain focused on your New Year's group fitness resolution throughout the entire year? We're about to hear this week's Fitbispiration, but first, here's a message from our friends at Loud Rumour.
Advertising is not expensive. Obscurity is. Being unknown in your own community. And for just $99 a month, you can put an end to all of that. Loud Rumour has worked with over 1,500 fitness studios all over the world. And for only $99, we'll teach you step-by-step how to run ad campaigns like some of the largest fitness franchises on the planet. To learn more and get a bunch of sample training videos, go to loudrumorvt.com. Again, that's loudrumorvt.com.
Now let's go back to Tracy for this week's Fitbispiration.
So focus on attendance, building class numbers, and building your tribe. Number 2, offer enough classes to reach your attendance goals and keep tracking performance. And number 3, share the goals with trainers and keep discussing with them how to build further engagement, keeping the happy fans and bringing in more people.
Oh, what a great note to finish up on today, Tracy. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your expertise in the area of group fitness.
So awesome.
I enjoyed looking at those 3 separate areas. So the attendance, that's increasing the timetable, and then also increasing our class capacity. So thank you so much for joining us today and being one of our very first guests for 2020.
Yeah, let's rock it.
Thank you once again to Emma and Tracy. Now here's a message from our podcast partner, Tribe Team Training. Are you interested in increasing your centre's income and your trainer's income from small group training? Tribe Team Training is the new way to get more members engaged in small group training and paying extra. Click the Tribe Team Training link in the show notes or go to tribeteamtraining.com.au/podcast for your free formula to see how much income you can make from small group training.
PreCall Quickfire 5.
This week's PreCall Quickfire 5 guest is the CEO and founder of Fitness BI and former gym, Robert Jackson. Robert, a warm welcome. Thank you for joining us on the show today, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Chantel.
Now, we are going to start things with our PreCall Quickfire 5. Tell us, why do you do what you do?
Oh, that's always a good question. I think, we got into the industry when I was 16 years old. We got my first job at as a front desk employee, and I've just never left since. Love helping people, love software, love the fitness industry. It's just a perfect mix of all of it.
And you really are completely immersed in the fitness industry. And tell us, what's one ritual that helps you become better at what you do?
Well, I would say that always reading, always learning, always keeping your mind open to new ideas and new ways of thinking is definitely one ritual that I understand can help me be better at what I do. A new ritual that I've really gotten into as of the last year or so is jumping into a cold pool every morning. That seems to get my blood flow going and wake me up. And really, I recommend it to anybody that's out there. Just a little bit of cold water and makes your day completely recharged.
You know what? That is definitely a bit of a trend at the moment, isn't it? Doing like the cold immersion or jump in the cold shower. Or I haven't been brave enough to do it yet.
You got to do it. Yeah, we have cryotherapy at our health club in our Walnut Creek location, and we kind of got it because I was doing it every day, and the local business was going out of business and asked me if I wanted to buy it. So we bought it and put it in there. But yeah, I love cold immersion.
Okay, there's something for us to all try out in 2020. Let's see who's brave enough. And are there any apps or systems that you use to stay in control of your workload?
We use an app called Asana. We use Slack. We're a software shop, so we have project management tools and really have to stay on track with our project management to control our workload. Otherwise, nothing will get done. So I would say, Asana and Slack are kind of our main 2 tools that we're using.
Absolutely.
To stay in control of our workload.
Yeah, they're 2 popular answers that we get, actually.
They are.
You mentioned earlier that you enjoy reading. Are there any books or even podcasts or blogs that you would recommend to the FVP family?
Yeah, there's actually one that I just finished reading called Prediction Machines. Really, really good book. I would definitely pick it up. It's a really good book for anybody who's not a data scientist who wants to understand how AI and algorithms can help, influence their business and kind of how to start that process.
Excellent. Prediction Machines. We'll make sure we grab the link and pop it in the show notes. And just tell us briefly about the topic that you and I are going to be talking about during your main interview.
Yes, I think we're talking about KPIs and kind of some of the details behind those KPIs.
We definitely are. I'm excited to dive into this one. So, Robert, thank you so much for joining us today for the PreCall Quickfire 5.
Of course.
This week's Rewind segment is also in line with our group fitness theme. The episode was called In the Trenches of a Market-Leading Fitness Business, and our special guest was Carrie Keppel. During the interview, we talked about what it's like to be in the trenches of Les Mills, Newmarket, New Zealand, the value of 30-minute fitness classes, and the role of virtual fitness classes in a fitness facility. If you missed that episode, then go to today's show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, scroll down and click the link for episode 125. Thank you all so much for joining me for this week's show. A reminder that, of course, all the resources and the links for today's episode can all be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Don't forget also to check out the other shows in our New Year's resolution series. Thank you so much to our foundation partner, Active Management. Active Management are a fitness business coaching company that help clients all over the world. And this month, I have a business tip for you all. Join the Active Management Facebook community. It's an amazing group and you'll meet like-minded fitness owners and managers from all over the world. All you need to do is go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community. It's a highly engaging community where JT from Active Management shares loads of resources. Things like photos from inside gyms, reasons to exercise, a monthly book club, challenges, and even ideas under $50. It's free and it is an awesome community. Once again, just go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community. Thank you all for joining me for this week's episode. Enjoy your week ahead. And remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.